The final part of this, which I think is also relevant, so there's so much statute here. It's probably one of the most boring shows that I've ever done because it's so statute heavy, but there's a lot of good material in the Wisconsin statutes. And so what we see here is that not only is Kyle entitled to protect himself, but he may also be entitled to protect other people around, specifically third parties. So here we've got a person is privileged to defend a third person from real or apparent unlawful interference for another under the same conditions and by the same means as those under and by which the person is privileged to defend himself or herself, provided that the person reasonably believes that the facts are that the third person, so this is just third party protection liability. Here's what it's saying. Law uses the dumbest language. It's very difficult to decipher, but here's what it's saying. It's saying that if Kyle could defend a third person, a third party, if it wasn't, let's say it wasn't Kyle. Let's say that first shot took place because somebody else was getting beat up or something else was happening. It was a third party, and Kyle could see that person was under such a threat that they were going to be injured, physically, or they were going to die. If Kyle were in that person's position, if he were entitled to defend himself, then he could. And if that were the situation, then Kyle, as a third party, somebody who's outside of that altercation, he could also step in and defend that other third party. So it's really complicated, but basically Kyle, it's saying that if Kyle saw a third person and something was happening to that person, and if Kyle were in that third person's shoes, if he would have been able to defend himself, he could also defend himself as a third party outside of that. So sort of fleshing out the universe of different things that we can analyze. If we get more footage and more evidence about what actually happened during that first shot, this is going to be a lot more clear. We're going to be able to say Kyle was somebody who was acting in self-defense. He reasonably believed that there was imminent harm, imminent threats, imminent death, and self-defense applies through and through. If the government comes back and says, yeah, but he was engaged in unlawful activity, he was criminally trespassing, he had an unregistered firearm, or whatever nonsense they concoct, which they will, this is going to be the same story as the McCloskeys. It's going to be a political prosecution. A lot of people are going to rally around Kyle. A lot of people are going to rally against Kyle. I think the NBA's, boycotting and stuff now. It's whatever. But, this is something where this is going to be a very fact-intensive and statutorily intensive analysis. They're going to be going through these statutes because Wisconsin has a lot on both sides. They've got the no duty to retreat part of the statute. But then when we're talking about self-defense, it kind of does say that you have to escape or you have to do other things before you use deadly harm. And so the prosecutors are going to be, up in the arms about this. I'm really curious to see who these assigned prosecutors are and what their affiliations are. We learned a lot about Kim Gardner being connected to a lot of these, big money, George Soros funded, very, very aggressive political reform policies that I don't necessarily even agree with. They're supposed to be very liberal and very, in favor of the criminal defense world, but a lot of them just sound like really bad ideas to me. So we're going to see. We're going to continue to follow the story, and we will see. The first video is really the one that leaves a lot to be desired. We just don't know whether or not there is any actual claims of self-defense or whether he's got any sort of escape hatch on this thing. But based on the evidence that I've seen thus far, I don't see anything that was unnecessarily unlawful here. I think that, quite frankly, were I in his position or anybody in his position, they would probably feel the same way, feel very threatened, except for that first video. We just don't know yet. So we'll save our judgment on that until that video comes out.